Well, hello and welcome to my latest project. This one is a bit special because it's my first ever proper collaboration with another YouTube creator, my great friend Dimitris from Athens, who runs JimmysCanal. Now, if any of you know his channel, you will know that he's the most incredible toolmaker. He makes the most beautiful things, and to a level of perfection which is quite amazing actually. And we've become great friends over the past few years, since lockdown really. And he recently was commissioned by a luthier to make him a very specific tool. And that very specific tool is a circle cutter. And luthiers traditionally have been using a circle cutter to mark out the rosette and the sounding hole in a guitar. So most luthiers nowadays, in production terms, or people who make lots and lots of guitars commercially, will use mechanical tools. They'll use some form of router in order to cut the circle and make the shape for the inlay of the rosette. But a lot of very high quality and specialist luthiers will still do it all by hand. And for that you need a very precise tool. And of course, Dimitris is going to make such a beautiful tool. But that tool depends on having a blade, and that is one thing that Dimitris doesn't do. He doesn't make blades. He hasn't got the equipment for the heat treating, for the grinding, etc., etc. So he very kindly asked me if I would design and produce some blades for him to go with the circle cutter. And I'm really honored. I'm really excited to do it. So let's get on with it. So I've already done quite a bit of work on this and made various experiments, and mainly in terms of the shape of the bevel. The blades are going to be 6 millimeters across, and they're 1.5 mil thin. And I'm saying thin because that is really thin for what I do with blades. So the first type I tried is this diamond-shaped blade, and that just didn't work. Because inevitably there's a ridge there. When you've beveled this side and you've beveled this side, it creates a ridge, and that was really getting in the way of the cut. The idea of the diamond shape, of course, is that you could conceivably cut in both directions, but it just doesn't work, or at least I couldn't make it work. So, and of course I am practicing without the circle cutter at the moment, so it's all a little academic, but I'm still pretty confident that this is the best shape with a bevel like that. Now, again, I made several experiments with different angles. Here, I made it very long. I tried one that was really quite long like that, but it was too brittle at the end, and it wasn't very satisfactory. So in fact, the one I have come up with now that I've decided is the best, and of course this is completely inaccurate, this is an angle of 45 degrees and the bevel is at 20 degrees, and that's what I'm going to go with. Now, the other thing to mention actually is that I'm going to make them to cut left-handed and also the reverse to cut right-handed. And that is because if you imagine, if this is the rosette, you've got an outer and an inner circle. On that circle, you need the bevel and the waist to be on the inside, so that is a clean cut on the outside. But on the inside, you need the bevel to be on this side, because that is where you want the waist to be. I hope that makes some sort of sense. So the first thing I had to do was to come up with a couple of jigs. This is the first one I came up with, which is in order for me to be able to grind the blade to the 45 degree angle on my belt sander. And I cut the groove on my newly made router table, which was very effective. And then I put a stop here so that I can hold it against the grinding table of my grinder. The next jig was to start off the 20 degree bevel. I needed something that I can put up against the belt sander and cut the beginning of the bevel because of course I will do most of the fine tuning after hardening. But that at least will get me started to get the blades in, well, ready for hardening, basically. Right, here we have it. All the blades have their preheat grind. So the next stage now is to harden these and then temper them and then give them their final grind. I hope that will make sense. So I'm now going to do a sort of industrial level heat treatment, one after the other, with a torch into the oil. So that is my next job. Well, here they are. They are all hardened, and the next thing that's going to happen now is I'm going to put them in the temper for 2 hours at 210 degrees Celsius, and then after that they will be tempered and I can check them for hardness. Okay. So time to set everything up on the Tormek to do the final grind of my little blades. So as you can imagine, this is really the limit of the Tormek's ability, because I've got it set pretty much as low as it can go on its holder. And at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm getting this right. So the first thing I need to do is to make sure that I've got this angle right. So I'm going to run it. Now that's telling me that everything is not quite right. It's difficult to tell whether that's because of the angle at which I ground the original blade. The reason I say that is because when I check this, that blade is very square. So I'm going to give it a few more passes and we'll see how it goes. If you can see this, the angle I'm really interested in is this angle, and that seems to be good. The other angle going in this direction could have been a mistake when I was grinding on the belt grinder. This of course is far more accurate. So I'm now very pleased with that, and I'm going to carry on at this angle. But in order for this to be repeatable, I have to be able to put the blades in the same way every time. So I need to measure. Gosh, the light is terrible here. That's pretty exactly 40 mil. So I've got an edge that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to finish taking any burr off with some fine and super fine diamond stones. And I want to get this to a fairly high finish, gloss finish, nice polish. So one of the great advantage of these diamond stones is you can be confident that they're pretty flat. It's kind of difficult to know how to test this, really. I've put the blade in a sort of hand vise, and I suppose what the luthier would do, of course, is that he would take the circle cutter and make several passes for the inner circle and then several passes for the outer circle, and then gently chisel out the rosette. So until I have the circle cutter, what I'm going to do is give it a few passes in a straight line and see what kind of action I get, so to speak. So here goes. One, two, three. And that's got pretty much through to the first layer of the plywood here. Give it one more. I'm cutting on this side because that's the flat edge. Okay. So it'll be very hard for you to see, but it's got a certain amount of depth to it there. Okay. Well, I'm no expert, but that seems to be doing the job. Well, I'm guessing I could inlay something into that once I've cleaned it up a bit. I'm pleased with that. One of the issues I've got doing this, of course, is polishing and cleaning up these blades. And I can assure you that doing it like this on a piece of wet and dry paper will soon test the strength of your skin. So I decided to help myself, and I made this rather crude little thing out of an old piece of, I think it's laburnum actually. I routed a groove in it and I put this strip of steel, and I will add some very strong magnets. They are tricky though. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but it's perfectly flat, which is perfect because this is a piece of float glass, so that's perfectly flat. Now, when you sand things with magnets, it's not perfect. The magnet seems to have some impact. So this blade is now ready for sharpening. So I just received a very exciting package from Greece. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while, and it has finally come. So let's have a look. This is the price. Oh my goodness. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Absolutely stunning piece of work. There's a longer arm for the circle cutter. And here are some extra bits and pieces. I have to investigate what they all are. Those are grub screws, another grub screw, an Allen key, and this is a blade blank of carbon steel, so that I can start making more blades. And these are the bases for the circle cutter. So one standard one, look at that fit, look at that. Beautifully engineered. Absolutely stunning. And this is to put on something more delicate, maybe on glass, on perspex. See if I can zoom in a bit more. That's to hold the blade. And this is the fine adjustment on the arm. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And the Tuyabur handle that he turned himself. Oh, I couldn't be happier. Absolutely stunning bit of work. Magnificent. All right, let's put this to the test. I've put one of the blades in. I've adjusted the diameter. I've made up a little plate of maple, because I think that's a pretty realistic wood for luthier, and I've clamped it between these two bits so that the clamps wouldn't get in the way of the circle cutter. And well, let's see. It's my first proper go using this in anger. So let me just adjust the height of the blade. Okay, so which way am I cutting with that one? Okay, anti-clockwise with this one. Yeah, it feels really good. Yeah, it's feeling really solid. It's feeling really stable. Nothing's moving. It's great. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is So I'm going to turn the blade the other way round. Being careful not to cut myself. And I'm going to extend the distance because now we're going to be cutting the outer circle. So I'm going to loosen the arm. Okay, that feels about right. Okay. The reason it sticks here is not for any issue with the tool. It's just because it's an awkward angle to keep the same strength going around. Whereas this way, of course, it's really easy. And here I'm cutting against the, or across the grain, so it is a bit of a test. Well, my setup is far from ideal. The clamps are getting in the way, but you know what? I'm no expert, but I would say that's job done. I would be able to put in an inlay here quite easily. The lines have been very carefully and successfully cut. The tool is rock solid. I think that's going to make a luthier very happy indeed. Well, there you have it. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was something a bit different. But most importantly, I am so happy to be in some way part of the creation of this tool. I'm sure it will make a luthier extremely happy. The blades I've made are winging themselves as we speak to Athens for Dimitris to be able to finish the project, and his video, which I trust you will check out. He's made an amazing video about the making of the tool. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, whatever, but whatever you do, check out Dimitris's video. Thanks very much.